and welcome to Gardening Australia's Family Christmas Special. I've dressed up for the occasion to fit in with the wonderful atmosphere here at Werribee Mansion, west of Melbourne. It's a special occasion because it's very rare that we get all of the Gardening Australia presenters together in one place. They've flown in from all around the country, and look, there's Jane over there.
Costa!
Jane, Merry Christmas.
And to you. Have a happy day.
Yeah, now tell me, this is your turf here. Tell me a little bit about the mansion.
I've been here many times filming because we really love this garden. But look at the house. That is just sensational. 1867. And look at it. Italianate. My goodness, it's imposing.
And what about the grounds? How big are they?
Well, the grounds are enormous, about 60 acres. It was bigger, of course. These were very rich pastoralists. Andrew and Thomas Churnside lived here. They built that when they made all their money after sheep, of course. And this garden they developed because they wanted to be a little microcosm of England. You can see it's got a very Englishy sort of feel.
Yeah, the rolling grass, the large trees, the
Yes.
vistas. What else is here?
Well, there's a lake down there with a lovely grotto, but it's the trees. There are trees here that are over 150 years old. And you look at that bunya pine there. That is sensational. The way it's got those arms out like that.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. And this is the biggest bhutan cypress you'd see in Australia. Isn't that amazing?
There's so many stories to tell here, and we're going to be catching up with the rest of the team in a little while. But first, here's a look at what else is packed into our hour-long Christmas special.
Millie and I are at the Werribee Open Range Zoo.
Where both the plants and the animals have a role to play in this amazing place.
I am standing on the hallowed turf of the MCG, but I really want to see how this playing surface is kept in top nick so that the highest level of sport can be played here all year round.
Soil is the lifeblood of the garden, and it doesn't get much better than this. Beautiful, rich and volcanic. And I'll be showing you how this stuff has supported farmers for generations.
And the whole team will be sharing Christmas lunch at beautiful Werribee Park. And there'll be gardening gifts galore. But before all that, it's time to head to the Adelaide Hills, where Sophie will be showing you how native plants can make fantastic decorations.
For me, Christmas is a great time to get crafty because I love making things for my family and friends using my garden as inspiration. I'm going to make 2 Christmas wreaths, one to hang on the front door and one to sit on my table as a centrepiece. I'm using grapevines as the base for both of my wreaths, but you can use any material you've got in the garden that's flexible. Here's one I made out of wisteria. You could also use honeysuckle or even jasmine. And this is a grapevine wreath that I made a year ago and it's had a chance to dry out. Take a long piece of vine and bend it into a circular shape about the size you want it to end up. And then simply wrap the extra on itself. To get a thick wreath, you simply get more canes and continue to wrap it around, ideally in the same direction. However, that's easier said than done because you have to wrangle a bit. They tend to get caught on themselves. I like to remove any side branches because it makes it easier to do, and you just keep layering until you get the thickness that you want it to finish up at. Now that's the wreaths done. I've left these curly tendrils on because I think they look cute and add to the character. But if you want a neater shape, it certainly makes it easier to weave if you cut them off first. Now to decorate them. For the wreath on the front door, I'm using really tough stuff because it's going to be outside. I'm going for fresh flowers or foliage that will dry, or stuff that's already dried. So here I've got some Hills daisy, some blue gum, some Banksias as a focal point, and some gum nuts. Choose whatever you've got in your garden or what's readily available. And you can even go to the florist shop to source something really special. Now I like to start by laying it out roughly how I want it to look, and then you just work on securing it. Now to secure it in place, I'm going to use some florist wire, and I'll also have some string available as well. There are no rules on how you put one of these together. Simply let your creativity run wild and have fun. With the lighter items, such as the blue gum foliage, I've simply threaded it through the grapevine wreath itself, and that holds it in place. But with heavier items such as the gumnuts or banksias, I've used florist wire to wire them on and make sure they don't fall off. And then simply add flowers and foliage until you think it looks finished. There you go. I think that's looking pretty good. I haven't covered the whole wreath because I still want to see the beautiful grapevine. But as a finishing touch, I'm just going to add a few bits of Hills daisy. Next up for the table centre, I'm still going to use some Australian native plants. This beautiful Eucalyptus tetragona, some wattle, Geraldton waxen bud, dryandra, and even some dried billy buttons. Now I'm going to put foliage all the way around, and these plants will probably last for a week indoors on the table without needing water. However, if there's something more tender like a rose that you wanted to add to it that will need water, you can even use these little florist vials and hide them in amongst the foliage. The difference with the table centre is I'm making some bunches of the finer foliage stuff, the Geraldton wax and the wattle. I'm securing them with wire, but you could do the same with string, and then I'm actually tying them onto the grapevine wreath itself. Once I've got one bunch tied on, then I simply alternate the fine bunches with the coarse materials like the dryandra or the gumnuts, and I simply follow all the way around the wreath until it's full and lush. As a final touch, I popped in some dried billy buttons to add a splash of yellow. Beautiful. Why not bring the garden inside this festive season and have a go at these easy to make Christmas wreaths?
How beautiful is it to go to a kitchen garden like this one at the mansion and pick vegetables like this?
It's one of the simple things in life. I was surprised at just how much is on offer, the diversity of what we could get.
This place, traditionally known as the broccoli belt of Melbourne, this area, for hundreds of years, it's grown half of our vegetables.
Yeah, it's only 20k out of Melbourne and the volcanic soil. I recently visited a farm just down the road and was amazed at just how productive this area is. Look at this rich, absolutely beautiful soil. It's what a gardener like me dreams about and what all the farms around here were founded upon. Tony, what can you tell me about this beautiful soil?
This soil it looks quite heavy. It's not a sandy soil, it's quite heavy anyway. But it grows everything, anything at all. From potatoes, carrots, we grew red beet, we grow collies, cabbages, broccoli, artichokes, lettuce, everything you want to grow in this land, you can grow it.
You've been farming this land for decades. How do you keep your soil in such good shape?
What we do, we have to put a lot of lime, gypsum, a lot of chicken manure that to keep the soil up in condition. Like a human, you have to have food for you to keep working. The soil needs the same thing, needs the food to keep it in good condition, because if you don't put these elements back into the soil, you burn them out and it's never going to replace itself.
This whole area used to be part of the Werribee Mansion estate, but was sold off bit by bit in 20-acre blocks back in the 1950s. The Ferranda family have been farming here since that time. Do you also practice crop rotation? Are you moving crops from block to block as needed?
Try, where possible, not to put the same thing twice in a row. Because if you got some sort of disease, say, in broccoli, and then next time you put lettuce, that disease does not progress into the other species of vegetable.
Broccoli is still a staple for the farm, but over the years they've diversified into other crops under the stewardship of their son and next generation farmer, Marcello. So when you started growing broccoli and cauliflower, how's the fashion changed now?
Well, I think everyone's into the new things like coloured cauliflowers. You've got your coloured carrots. It just looks good on a plate. It looks inviting, and the kids love it.
And from a growing point of view, are they easier? Are they harder?
They are a little bit harder because they're a little bit more delicate. Yeah. Very easy to mark the head if you touch it in the wrong way. So when you cut, you always try and hold the leaves instead of actually touching the head of the cauliflower.
Always up underneath.
Always up underneath, yeah.
Also, what we're doing here is we're ripping those leaves out. Is that to get that curd to develop?
Open it up. Open it up so you get more colour into the curd.
Yeah.
The sunlight gives it the colour.
Yeah, that deeper purple in the heads.
Deeper purple.
Yeah. The Ferrandas are doing something that I've never seen before. They're mechanically planting tomatoes. A furrow is created, the seedling gets dropped in at even intervals, then the soil is closed up around it, and the job is done. How good would one of these be for the patch? It's great to see this land in the heart of Melbourne's west is in such capable hands of hard-working farmers like Tony, Rita and Marcello. It really gladdens the heart of a humble gardener and farmer like myself to see this beautiful soil still growing veggies now and hopefully well into the future.
We get a lot of questions about passion fruit vines, and another one's come in, which is how long does it take for a vine to start producing fruit? Well, it depends on whereabouts you are and how quickly your vine has established, but typically it's around 18 months to 2 years until they're really underway. And once they get going, they really get going. But remember, passion fruit vines tend to be short-lived plants, normally 5 to 6 years. So make the most of them when they're going strong.
Eggshells, how good are they in the compost? I love them because if you don't crush them up and you leave them like halves, you'll find that the worms actually go in there and procreate. It's an amazing thing. But what I like to do is scrunch them up in my hands or get a mortar and pestle and bang, 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 bang into small pieces. Eggshells, they make for healthy plants.
One question which I'm never asked, but I think is important to answer, is when do you apply lime to soil? Lime sweetens soil and it adds calcium, which keeps plants healthy. Here in the subtropics, we get a distinct wet summer season. Calcium in lime is really water soluble, so it can be stripped from the soil. I apply it in autumn, and that means I've got almost a year for it to work its magic. Now, if you live in a part of the country where you have winter rainfall, spring is the better time to apply it, and that way you'll get a lasting effect.
A lot of people ask, can I grow an avocado tree from a pip? Well, of course you can. They germinate really readily and it's a fun thing to do. But the question is, do you want to? The trees you get at the nursery, the avocado trees, they're grafted, so they're a known quantity. You know they'll produce a crop. Whereas a seed-grown plant, well, you never know what's going to happen. But it is good fun. They make good house plants, so you might as well have a go.
Jane, I can't believe how good these lawns look. There's not a blade out of place.
It's true, they're gorgeous, but I can go one better. I've recently visited a place that has the ultimate lawn. That's right, I am standing on the hallowed turf of the MCG, and any number of great sporting events have occurred right here. Like the famous Centenary Test, when the legendary Dennis Lilly bowled Australia to victory.
And that's it, it's LBW, Alan Knott is out, Lilly has struck again to finish off this test match. England all out for 417, another great...
And in 1970, a record crowd of 121,000 saw Alex Jesaulenko's soaring grab. Carlton overcame a massive half-time deficit to win one of the greatest grand finals of all time.
And look at them, bobbing Barassi. And my word, what a proud man Barassi must be.
In fact, I'm filming this part of the story just a few days before the AFL Grand Final. It really is very exciting. But I really want to see how this playing surface is kept in top nick so that the highest level of sport can be played here all year round. Tony Gordon is the MCC Arenas manager. He's been here for 8 years.
It's the most precious turf in all the country, and it's a big responsibility and a lot of pressure at times.
We are standing on the AstroTurf, and there's the real natural grass.
Correct.
Why not use just artificial turf?
The reason you wouldn't have an artificial surface in Australian sport is most of the time players aren't covered with enough padding or protection to prevent burns, and the natural surface is just a much safer, more pleasant surface to play on.
So what happens if the ground is too hard? What do you do?
What we do normally is run a machine like this. So that's a pedestrian aerator. It has some tines in the back, and we can choose different size tines and different depths to have a different effect.
And how do you test that?
We use something called a Clegg hammer. It's a 2.5 kilo device, slides down, hits the surface, and there's a sensor inside. It measures how firm the surface is.
The MCG's tall stands offer a good view for spectators, but they cast long shadows in winter.
There's parts of the ground, for example, where we're standing that haven't seen natural sunlight for about 5 months. So we have an artificial lighting system that we use to maintain the ground.
Only one small version of the lights is on the ground at the moment. The main ones are stored under the grandstands.
So we have 13 units. It takes about 2 hours to deploy them. But without those, this grass would just suffer and we'd end up replacing a lot of turf.
What a great boss. The apprentice had to go on a coffee break, so Tony stepped in on the aerator. It's a good time to sneak in a kick. Outside the MCG, even though it's still footy season, preparation for a summer of cricket has already begun. The portable pitches are getting plenty of attention. The MCG is known for its classic pitches, and this is the reason. This is Merry Creek clay, and gardeners either like it or they loathe it. In winter, if it's boggy and wet, it really goes gluggy and hard to dig over. In summer, it does exactly the opposite. It dries out and it becomes like concrete. But here, it makes a perfect pitch. This stuff is horticultural film. It's acting as a blanket over the top of the little bits of couch grass, the sprigs that are ready to bounce away in spring. Over winter, though, they need that little bit of covering because couch grass might get bitten by frost. It's a perfect thing. It lets enough sunlight in so the plants do keep growing. Now, fast forward a week. The Tigers have won the grand final and the 10 portable pitches are on the move. They're housed in steel containers, which can be picked up by a special mobile crane. Nearby roads are closed so the crane can move the precious pitches into the arena. A 25 metre by 25 metre pad has been exposed for the pitches to sit on. Despite the size of the crane, it can be manoeuvred to drop the pitches into position with millimetre perfect precision. Fast forward another month and you can see that the pitches are really greened up nicely. In fact, you can see where they were dropped in, those seams have joined up really well. I asked Melbourne Stars all-rounder Anna Lanning what cricketers look for in a pitch.
Yeah, look, as a batter, you're looking for a hard pitch, little grass on it, just so you can make a lot of runs. As a bowler, you want a little bit of grass and so that it moves off the seam.
And does that depend on the Merry Creek clay, the soil, once it dries, it gets really hard and compact? Is that what happens?
Yeah, that's it. You obviously want a really hard pitch. You don't want it rolling or anything. You still want some nice bounce for the bowlers and for the batters.
Yeah. Gee, women's cricket's taken off.
Yeah, absolutely. The last couple of years have just been amazing. The growth of women's cricket and the girls coming through that are playing under 10s, 12s and that sort of thing has just been amazing.
Oh, that's great. Well, I was lucky enough to kick a goal last time I was on the MCG, whoopie-doo. This time I would would love to turn my arm over to you. Would you mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So
I've got some really devastating fast bowling coming up.
Edmondson in, landing forward. Oh, she's had a go at that one. Oh, that's gone. That's gone. That's out of here. That's a 6.
I knew I should have stuck to footy. Anyway, one of those pitches will be used in the upcoming test on Boxing Day. And go the baggy greens.
What's in here, Jane?
Oh, wow, Costa, come and have a look at this. Whoa, fabulous.
That is an impressive spread.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, a salad.
What do you reckon, Tino?
Pretty good.
Look at
Got a nice
this.
garden salad.
That's really something, isn't it?
How's the appetite going, Jerry?
Pretty good.
This will do the job.
I thought you were pinkish.
I'm definitely patient. I'm just wondering how many species we've got on the table.
As you would.
Definitely double figures.
Do you put this on for your tribe, Sophie?
Not quite this good looking, but I reckon we should get into it.
Yeah.
Lead the way, Soph. Lead the way. Get the family rolling. Cracker time, Soph. Let's go.
Okay. You ready?
Yep. Hey, you got it.
That was a bit of a fizzle.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
What vegetable do you need a plumber for?
Garlic.
What did the priest say when he found a caterpillar in his garden? Let us spray. Why did the tomato turn red? You saw Mr. Green pea over the fence? And the third? The salad dressing. Oh. The king of dodgy rude.
Dirty jokes.
We know that this time of year means different things to different people. However you spend your day, we hope it's with friends, family and loved ones. I'm just really enjoying sharing it with the Gardening Australia family and learning a few family secrets along the way.
We used to have the tradition that everyone who visited for Christmas would come in the door. Before they were given a glass of wine or anything to eat, they had to stand on scales and weigh themselves. And it was all, truly, and it was all put down on a spreadsheet. Jane, you weighed this much in 1984, then you weighed that much in 1992. It was the most extraordinary tradition. It was awful. Christmas.
You get to weigh yourself after the meal.
I was going to say.
No.
Do you get charged? Do you get charged at the end? What a great spread, Soph. Look at all the colours on your plate there.
Isn't it beautiful? The leafy greens in my garden at the moment are just going off. I love being able to wander around and pick things and sample them. It's fabulous.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's nothing better than eating something fresh straight out of your garden.
Absolutely.
Now, this is an interesting little crop that I've got growing on my verge. It's called Werribee greens, also known as Botany Bay spinach or sea spinach. But whatever you want to call it, it's going to be one ingredient in a truly alternative Australian Christmas dish. And this is the culinary master who's going to be guiding us. A man famous for creating delicious food with the true flavours of Australia, Mark Olive. Am I interrupting?
Finally.
Look, I've been busy collecting Werribee greens as you requested.
Fantastic.
What do you think?
Where'd you get them from?
I've been growing them on my verge garden. They love that sandy environment, and I'm excited to see how you can fold them into a recipe.
Oh, look, these are really nice. They've got a little bit of a toxin in it as well.
Yeah, the oxalic acid.
That's right. And look, best way to get that out is hot water, bleach it out, or just fry it off on the barbie.
What sort of Christmas special recipe have you got to use with these?
Well, first we've got to get you tidied up. I've got an apron for you.
Am I qualified enough to wear that?
Well, no, not really, but...
First step, what's the plan?
What we're going to do, because it's a Christmas special, I just thought I'd do something different way outside of normal turkey. Let's do an Indigenous Christmas with some kangaroo fillets. What I want you to do is just pick those off, because we'll need a good container of those.
How did you get interested in cooking to start with?
Oh, look, watching me mum and me aunts, and like any Aboriginal family, you hang in the kitchen and you just eat all day. No. What I've done here earlier on is just, because we're going to smoke this kangaroo too, got some smoking chips in there. This is just starting up really well now. That's going to give us a chance to look at the herbs.
And what an array of herbs Mark brought along to create a rub for the kangaroo fillets.
Have you heard of the kuchera?
Bush tomato.
This is the kuchera that's been powdered down and the flavour profile changes. This is going to be the hero of the herb mix. We have saltbush, amazing.
Yep.
And here we've got the mountain pepper, originated in Tasmania, sea parsley, and the lemon myrtle.
Each of these herbs is genuinely Australian. Some familiar, some esoteric, and some, like the pepperberries, with a flavour experience all of their own.
Right. Now, this is quite warm.
Oh, yeah. You're quite. I'm interested in your quite.
Roll it on the roof of your palate. You can taste that port that goes to the back. There's that prunish, there's that real earthiness as well, but there's a bit of heat there as well. And it gets hotter. Sorry. Your eyes are going to be watering and we'll have to get a mop for you, but that's another story. So
you told me to rub it on the back of my palate. It's on fire up there. It's hot.
Hey, look, toughen up, princess. Now, with this kangaroo, we're going to have a lovely jus with it, so it's just going to be a nice savoury jus. So it's a runny gravy, really. Now, this is going to have some quandongs in it as well. Indigenous people have called it an Indigenous peach. So that's going to be in the jus as well with that kangaroo, with that herb mix there. The kangaroo, we've got a nice piece of fillet here. I just want you to get the tongs and roll that around in the oil there.
Yep.
Okay, I want you to sprinkle that around.
How much?
Give it a good roll. It's your taste and what you...
Oh, we may as well crank it.
That's it, just flip it around and get those herbs on all of that kangaroo. Now let's just put this in here, just on the grill there. Now this is going to be about 10 minutes,
That's
no
all.
more than 10 minutes, because we want just that smoke to go through, give it a little bit of flavour. But not only that, we want the kangaroo to be nice and medium to medium rare. What I'm going to get you to do is chop up the Werribee greens.
Yep.
Oh, Costa, I'm worried. You're going to lose a finger.
All right, show me.
Okay, I'll show you.
Jeez. I'm going to cutting school, all right?
You never do that. Tip of the knife always stays on the top. You're only using this part of the knife. You just... That never leaves the board. Try that. Beautiful. Just take that off, sit that on there. I'm going to start heating up this jus and adding our quandongs in it as well.
This works, Mark.
Well, you've learnt something, Costa.
Oh.
Okay, what I've got in there is a little bit of lemon and a bit of the zest and just a little bit of olive oil. If you just want to pass me some of the sea parsley.
Sea parsley? How much do you want on there?
Just a sprinkle in there. See how that fries up really quick?
That is very quick.
Always, with a kangaroo, it's always good to cut across the grain. So you've got that lovely kangaroo, and I mean, that's nice, isn't it?
Kangaroo fillets on a bed of mashed potatoes with Werribee greens. Yum.
Got our jus, Costa. Just want some of the quandongs on the top. Beautiful.
They've got a great lustre and shine about them now, the glaze.
There we have it, Costa. Here's my version of a Christmas dinner with a bit of a twist. Something unique, something different, but all very Australian. What do you reckon?
What do I reckon? Mark Olive, I reckon you're a fair income genius.
Don't ask me, Sophie, don't ask me.
Well, where
park. You know, it's not just about this great house and garden. There's all of these other things to explore. How good was that zoo?
I know, I got some great photos of the giraffes. The girls are gonna love them.
Yeah, and it's not just about animals, you know. They're making that connection that it's about the plants too.
Meerkat. Werribee Zoo, just west of Melbourne and spread over 220 hectares, is actually two zoos in one. There's a more traditional area where the animals are enclosed and an open range area where it's the visitors that are enclosed and the animals are roaming free.
This is a zoo filled with big, hungry herbivores, and keeping them well fed and healthy is a constant challenge. But you can't just go out and buy giraffe or gorilla food, so Werribee has a special orchard known as the Browse Plantation. It's a huge 17 hectares and it's filled with over 17,000 trees. And these produce a continuous supply of tucker for all of the animals.
We've got to cut it by hand, so all the Browse Plantation is mostly done by hand saws, and we're just collecting up to, here it's 300 branches plus a week.
300 branches a week though, your pruners must have some pretty big forearms.
Yeah, they work pretty hard, and there's two people that they go through and they cut, so 2 full days, twice a week.
Oh, cool. So we've got two types of wattles here.
Yep.
What's eating wattles?
So mostly it's the giraffe. The giraffe eat a lot of wattle. You can see here we've got two species, Acacia saligna and Acacia mearnsii. So the mearnsii is a little bit more selective in how we prune and a little bit more susceptible to, you know, disease and doesn't heal so well unless it's pruned properly. And the saligna we can sort of hack. So the saligna heals really well, grows really quickly and recovers really well and suckers. So we get lots of new growth.
Come on, you're being very patient. I'm just going to quietly walk over here.
From the Browse Plantation, the prune branches don't hang around long before they're being enjoyed by some big African appetites.
How much of this will the giraffes eat over a day or a week? Or?
So over about a 2-day period, the giraffe between them will eat about 70 branches of acacia.
Oh, wow. It's quite a big animal to fuel.
Oh, yeah. It keeps us busy.
This is truly an amazing view, I got to say. I don't know about you, Tino, but this is a moment that not a bad job today. While the giraffes have eyes only for acacia, the gorillas are particularly keen on the Chinese elm. The keepers scatter the branches around the exhibit for them to discover and munch on.
A lot of the zoo's efforts are aimed at growing plants that the animals will eat, but many of the plants are also designed for shelter, and so are definitely meant not to be eaten.
Yeah, so all our plantations down here in the savannah are fenced off to a degree. So this plantation behind us, you can see he's got layers of hot wires around it. That'll keep giraffe out, it'll keep eland out, zebra out, all the big animals that can do damage to our plantation trees, which are very important for things like refuge, shelter, and habitat for bird life that can move in and out.
Plants don't just play a role in feeding and sheltering animals, they also help to create habitat. So all the enclosures have different challenges. What were the challenges with the planting here?
Probably mostly monkeys, I'd say. So the monkeys are pretty keen to get into things and scratch around, look for food.
And what we're looking at here isn't just the monkey enclosure, is it?
No.
You've got the gorillas on the back.
Yeah, so it's one of those design elements that we try to focus on here, is to have a borrowed view and a shared landscape. So you can have the monkeys in the foreground and the gorillas up the back, and you don't really see what separates the two. So it's a bit of an illusion. Yeah.
And have you used the same species of plants, but by the looks of it, to do that?
Yeah. So you'll see the Washingtonias, and you'll see the same sort of rocks and the same turf and the same plant. So it's really just tying that landscape all together. So it sort of tricks the eye.
I love visiting the animals at Werribee, but you won't be surprised to learn that it's actually the plants of this very special area that I'm most excited to see. This was former farmland, and the zoo actually cleared away the top 200 mil of soil to take away the nutrients from years of farming and also the weed load, and they're starting to reintroduce the local species.
That's a really good project.
I love this place. It's obviously full of all those big animals that everyone wants to see and wants to get to know, but they've also got these beautiful grasslands. They speak of the place.
While it's the animals at Werribee Zoo that tend to catch the eye of the visitors, it's the hard-working plants that are the real stars.
I just love the plants, generally. You know, you look up into a tree and you see the structure and the character. They're just magnificent. It underpins everything. Without plants, there's nothing else.
What's one of the best fruit trees for renting? Well, I like the Tamarillo. It's got a wide range of climatic zones that it'll grow in, all the way up north to all the way down here, bearing in mind that this has a beautiful north-facing brick wall to grow up against. They require quite a bit of water through the growing season, certainly when they're producing their fruit, but they're quick growing. In some areas, you'll get a crop off them in the first year. The flavour of them, they taste a little bit like a tangy, sweet passion fruit, and they look a little bit like it on the inside. But for me, the true secret of this fruit is making them into chutneys, relishes, or sauces.
People who have houseplants often wonder when and if they should feed them. Well, certainly, because a houseplant, it's a bit contained in a pot to be able to get its own food, so it's up to us to feed them. Best not to feed it in winter because that's its dormant time, its rest time, and generally speaking in winter you just let them be, especially in the southern states. However, come spring and summer, that's the time that they're actively growing, so give them some fertiliser and they will be jumping out of their skins.
Can I use compost as potting mix? Well, the official answer is no. However, you certainly can use compost to improve a basic potting mix, because what compost will do is improve the water holding capacity of your potting blend.
You know, I'm so taken by the grandness of this mansion, and we're so lucky to have a chance to enjoy lunch here. It's Victorian era?
It is indeed, high Victorian era, and there's a plant that you would know that's always associated with, well, the Victorian times.
Poinsettia?
And with Christmas, yes, poinsettia. And recently I went to visit a grower who grows thousands of them, and you should see the time and effort that goes into getting them red and ready for Christmas. Plants use light as an energy source to power their growth. And light also helps them tell the time of the year or time of the day. And plant producers use this factor to create specific conditions to get plants to grow and flower at certain times of the year.
Here we have ebb and flow rolling benches where the nutrient is adjusted with pH. We have hydronic heating down here. We have got 400 watt sodium lights which give the plants additional lighting. We have screens which are used in the evenings so that keeps the temperature stabilised, and also used as a shade during the summer if it gets too hot. We leave nothing to chance. Everything is totally controlled.
Roy Shermer is a nurseryman with decades of experience in propagating and growing plants for the retail market. And because they have to be at their flowering peak, timing is critical. So this is a very big setup, Roy. How many plants do you actually grow?
We produce about 750,000 pots a year over the whole year. We specialise in 4 events. That will be spring, Christmas, Valentine's Day and Mother's Day.
It is amazing that you have a real deadline to actually hit all those points of time.
Our customers require the stock to be ready perfectly on exact dates. So that's why we need a total environment control so as to be able to enable that.
And how important is just the lighting to make sure that that deadline does happen?
Lighting is very important. The plant needs light to grow. And generally over the spring months when it's low light, we need extended lights up to another 6-8 hours a day so as to get the plant to be at its best for dispatch.
When it comes to growing plants out of season, there's none more demanding for a Southern Hemisphere grower than the Christmas favourite, the poinsettia. So, Roy, would you say that poinsettias are difficult to grow?
The poinsettias, I think, is one of the most fascinating plants to grow, simply because they're so sensitive to light. Normally, a poinsettia will flower in July or August, and we often see that in our gardens in the northern states. That means that they'll initiate their flower buds when the day gets shorter. If they receive less light, they simply trigger the plant to initiate flower buds. And this is fascinating to me.
So, Roy, tell me the technical things.
Poinsettias need 18 and 20 degrees soil temperature. Also, the ambient temperature around them, they need 18 and 20 degrees. When we first get the plants, they have extended lighting, so we have the 400-watt sodium lights that replicates the sunlight, and then from there we have the blackout screens. Screens will make it dark at like 6 o'clock in the evening, afternoon, and continue dark to give the plants a 14-hour night or 10-hour day. So the light's finished, and then the plant goes into total shock, where it thinks the day is getting shorter, and then the plant thinks that we'll set flower buds and flowers develop.
So what you're doing with poinsettias is really tricking them, isn't it?
I guess we could say the seasons have actually changed opposite to what they are. So our spring is autumn and autumn is spring. Our summer is actually winter and winter summer. We can do anything we require with environment control.
It's amazing, isn't it? Who thought of this? You wonder who was the first person who ever thought, I'm going to put a poinsettia in the dark for an extra bit of time and it's going to do its thing.
I have no idea.
It's amazing though, isn't it? Plants are quite fascinating. Next time you see a poinsettia at Christmas with all its red bracts in full glory, do remember the effort and the trickery that people like Roy have put into growing this plant and be impressed, if not a little in awe.
The poinsettia is such a versatile plant. You know, it's the floral emblem of Brisbane. And when I used to run a garden centre in London, it was the #1 pot plant sale for Christmas. But if you're looking for festive colour for the subtropics, there's a huge number of things you can grow. Now, before I show you some of the festive colour that's available in the subtropics, have a look at these, Sophie. While I loved your southern wreaths, don't these just scream of a warmer, wetter climate? They're bromeliad wreaths. The red ones are Neoregelia red rocket, and the creamy green ones are tillandsias. They're air plants, and I've dressed them with Spanish moss. These are just a few of the gorgeous plants available at this time of the year to us subtropical gardeners. Bromeliads are such a versatile group of plants, and they're dead easy to grow. Here are two types. This one is a Neoregelia, and if you look inside the well, it's starting to flower. The other one is a Guzmania, and this has a tall, torch-like flower. Give these plants 50% shade cloth or an east-facing position, and they'll thrive. They don't need direct sunlight, but they do need topping up with water maybe once a week during summer. One of these plants will make a long-lasting display for 3 months or possibly more, and they'll make a wonderful table display. Flowers and foliage can make a really lovely combination. I think these two work really well together. Dracaenas and bougainvillea are tough, they're dependable, and they can grow in similar conditions in the garden. Dracaenas will also grow in deep shade, and this one, Song of India, is brilliant because it'll light up a gloomy space. But it can also be trained as a hedge, as can this Bambino bougainvillea, bee's knees. I think this combination of flowers and foliage can really change the mood of a garden design. They cool things down, but they're bright. Now these I want to show you. Here's a pair of elegant Queenslanders, Cordyline Coruba Black. In my experience, Cordylines really do best if they're protected from the western sun and you give them a drink once a week in really dry weather. That way they'll shine and they'll carry loads of foliage. And next to them is a perfect companion. This is variegated society garlic. I eat the flowers and I eat the leaves. In fact, they're a lot easier to grow in Queensland than conventional garlic. Together, you can grow them in a tub, in a border, or they'd make a knockout nature strip display. That could be a summer project. Now look, we have so many plants that we can grow and enjoy in subtropical Queensland. Enjoy it, enjoy the experience. And these two, I've got a place for them in a border at my home. See ya.
This pavlova amazing, Jerry? I think it's so much fun to put some flowers on a dessert like those beautiful violas.
In my garden, I use cosmos and calendula, but I love begonias because they have a sour flavour and it goes really well with sweet things.
How wonderful. And rose petals are gorgeous too. I just love roses. And just recently, I filmed a story at the Victorian State Rose Garden. And of course, Jane, you're their patron.
I am, and it's great because it's all run and maintained by volunteers.
Few plants have been celebrated in poetry, literature and song as much as the rose. Throughout the centuries, it's been a powerful symbol of love and beauty. The Rose Garden was opened in 1986 and its layout is designed like a giant Tudor rose. And it's the best of its kind in Australia and the first garden outside of Europe to win an International Garden of Excellence Award from the World Federation of Rose Societies. Adam Smith is the Senior Horticultural Ranger. Now, the roses here are thriving. They must like the soil here. What's it like?
They do. The roses love that very heavy, rich clay around the Werribee region. All the nutrients it holds in the soil and the moisture it retains as well.
It's not just the soil, it's also the Melbourne climate and seasons that encourage such ideal rose growing conditions. Because everywhere you look, there are hundreds of different varieties. There are showy modern roses in the central Tudor rose, 50 beds of stunning Australian bred roses in the leaf section, and popular David Austin roses spill out of the bud garden. And surrounding it all in a border, the heritage roses. But behind the scenes, there's a team of 100 volunteers that makes this place the showpiece that it is. It must be really wonderful working with such a passionate group of volunteers.
That's right. I love coming out here 2 days a week, meeting up with a volunteer group, just seeing the smiles on their faces, they're having fun. And they take so much pride in the work they do.
I've been involved in this beautiful rose garden for over 20 years now. The volunteer group was formed in 1993, and since then it's gone from strength to strength.
When I first came from New Zealand, I was a bit lonely, and I met all these lovely people who are so experienced in, with growing up roses and taking care of roses. Sort of gave me some knowledge about how to grow roses.
Being here is just so peaceful, and sometimes I just don't want to go home.
Keeping the roses in such pristine condition calls for some clever tactics because everything, animal, bird and insect, is keen to have a nibble. Now, do you have any problem with pest insects here, like aphids on your roses?
No, we don't have trouble with aphids because of the birds keeping under control here and other, I suppose, predatory insects come in.
But like ladybirds and hoverflies?
That's right. But the main pest we have as far as insects is concerned is thrip. And thrip does a lot of damage to the pale flowers, pinks and whites. So we get this browning of the edges, destroys the appearance.
And people often think that's the flower ageing, but it's not. It's pest damage.
It's pest damage.
Yep. And what are you going to do for that?
Well, we're going to introduce a predator, Aureus tantilis. They've arrived in this media, which is like a seed husk. We'll just release that now so that it can spread through the flowers and multiply up. Aureus will kill about 5 thrip a day. So we'll spread these through the garden.
Now, I can see you've got some possum damage along here, Lex.
Yes.
What do you do for that?
Well, we've tried using dog hair.
Okay.
So we put this dog hair in this container here with this mesh, and it's been hung up. And initially it worked very well for about 4 to 6 weeks. The smell of the dog kept the possums away, but once that smell went, the possums started coming back again because the damage you can see up there at the present moment.
Yep, and I can see there's an empty bag there. What happened there?
Well, the birds spotted it, nesting season, so we're finding a lot of the bags now are minus their dog hair.
That's cute. There are so many beautiful and diverse rose varieties here that I wish I could take them all home. And if you're trying to decide what will work and look best in your garden, the Victorian State Rose Garden is a great place to come and be inspired.
Wonderful opportunity that we're all here. Time for a toast.
Yay, sounds great.
To time together with friends and family. Merry Christmas. Here's to Jane, is it true that Pavlova's your favourite? Jerry, you're up next.
Unbelievably my favourite.
Jane's left a bit.
Christmases, all sorts of things.
I had no idea what a pavlova was until I emigrated.
Is that right?
No. Oh, I thought it was wonderful. It's a lot easier to digest than a Christmas pudding.
Did you have Christmas puddings though with sixpences and threepences in them?
Back home, we had a silver sixpence because it was a little bit safer than a threepence.
Yeah.
Because you could choke on a threepence, but you could swallow a sixpence.
And then you recover it every year. Back into the pudding next.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas. Now, have you been good gardeners this year? Really?
I still deserve a present.
You still deserve a present. Well, look, there's lots of presents in here. Let's start with the first one. Merry Christmas, Jerry.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, Josh. Thank you. Merry Christmas, Millie.
Yay.
Jane.
Thank you.
Tino. Sophie.
They're lucky hook. Good luck. And my kids welded them.
Oh, nice. These are good ones, too. You can smell cloves.
Amanda.
Amanda.
Now, I won't get that through customs back to WA. So there might be some trading.
Beeswax? Yeah, from my hive. You can use it to melt down and smear over like your axe heads or anything you use. It just makes them nice and protected, weatherproof.
Thank you so much.
Kaffir lime and lime. You made this, didn't you?
I did,
Are you-
and I grew it as well.
Thank you.
Happy
I'm
breakfast.
really thrilled.
I'll bring the toast. Toast.
So you've got our local newspaper.
I'll catch up on the news as I'm
But
chewing on
these,
what?
They're pickled cucumbers and pickled onions from our garden as well. So extra tasty, good with cheese and a bit of sourdough bread. Enjoy. But I would like the jar back. It's a good one. Come on,
Well, that's it for what I reckon has been a chock-a-block show. From all of us here at Werribee Mansion, we hope you have a great Christmas and look forward to seeing you same time next week for our New Year's special. Until then, Merry Christmas! Hold the reindeer. There's one last gift, and it's for you, our loyal audience. You've been asking us all year to extend the program to an hour, and we've listened because in January 2018, Gardening Australia's going to extend to an hour at 7:30 on a Friday night. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas from all of us. You want to tell them what's coming up next week? Yeah.
You might remember earlier in the year, I showed you how to make my holiday herb basket. In this basket, I've jam-packed everything I need to make a delicious meal. But today I'm going to show you something a little bit different. We're going to make a summer beverage basket.
I'm at Cockington Green Gardens in Canberra, a place well known for its beautifully crafted miniature buildings. Good book? And for the real reason of my visit, its immaculately cared for gardens.
And I'll visit an ecological community on the south coast of WA, where food production and sharing is a key part of daily life.